Release, press, release. And welcome to the channel. In this video, I will show you how to replace the front and rear brake pads on a W210, 202, 170, 208, so a number of different cars. These are the Mercedes-Benz workshop manual instructions for the front and rear pads. And I'm also going to show you how to flush the fluid with just a wrench. You really don't need a lot of tools. I've listed most of the tools that you need in the beginning, but we'll go through them as the video progresses. You'll need, you can use the jack that comes with the car and just do this one wheel at a time. Or if you have jack and jack stands, I have other videos to show you how to raise the car on all four wheels, which makes it simpler because especially if you want to flush the fluid too. You need some Allen sockets. I believe this is a 6mm Allen bolt. So you remove the rubber cover in order to get to this. This is what's called the guide pin, and kind of attaches the caliper together, the cover to the caliper. And so you remove this piece, and then with a flathead screwdriver or some other tool, or with your hands, you just keep pulling this out. This is just part of the caliper that you remove. And before that, of course, the brake sensor. And so one of the pads will be just hanging there that you can remove. The other one is you have to kind of pull out from inside the piston. And on this car, this is a W210 E320 2001 model. Originally, the car came with two brake sensors, and the pads that I'm using are from Bosch. I believe it's a German company. The front discs or the front pads are only 30 something bucks for both sides, and the rear ones are 20 something. So for $60 you can do the entire car. This car is kind of rusty, has lived most of its life in the northeast of the US, and so cleaning some of the rust. But the Bosch brake pad set is really cheap, $60 for the entire car. And I mean, you can go to online stores and find all kinds of them. You know, you can get even the Mercedes-Benz ones nowadays quite cheap. And so you need some kind of brush to get rid of any rust, dust, or you know, brake pad residue. And you'll also need some brake cleaner. You can get that from any auto parts store. Maybe from, you know, a full can from $4 to $7, $8 in the US. And so you can use the jack that comes with the car if you want to do this job one wheel at a time, or if you have jack and jack stands, it's best to raise the car on all four wheels, especially if you're replacing the brake fluid. And you can combine the two jobs, pads and fluid. And if you need to replace the rotor too, that's just I'm not showing that here, maybe in a different video. So it's best to combine all of this. And the brake fluid you want to replace every 2 years. But so the set comes with 4 rear pads and 4 front ones, 2 per wheel. And it comes with the front wheel. It only has one of the front pads comes with a sensor. This car had 2 sensors only in the front wheels, so I'm using the old sensor from the right side and the new sensor from Bosch. So you'll need something to hang the caliper after you do the cleanup, and in order to I mean, you can if you're careful, you can just put it on the brake rotor, but clean the caliper as well as you can. And if you have a compressor and air gun, of course, that would be nice to just blow all the dust and everything out. And I'm showing that with some of the wheels here, and not with all, but in each case I'm blowing the dust and spraying a generous amount of brake cleaner to each caliper and to the rotors. So you remove the sensor, and then you pry out the caliper, and then for the front wheels, and this is the driver's side front wheel. And I'm using this I bought from Home Depot. It's carpenter's clamp, wood clamp. I got it for $5 or $6. It may be more expensive nowadays, but you need some kind of piston press. You can get it from Harbor Freight, or any clamps that you have. I'm using a pad to just press it against the piston, and because the new pads are of course thicker, and you need to press the piston in order to do that. And if you're not replacing the brake fluid, then you might want to keep an eye on the amount of brake fluid as you press the piston. So depending on how full it is, you may have to open up the cap of the brake fluid tank. And so after the cleanup, you need to insert the guide pins and then torque them. Now pay attention to this part. You're going to start in either the bottom or the top, but you want to insert it into the hole there, and then while you're holding the other one, you kind of pry it out to the end of the caliper, and then make sure it's fully inserted. And then afterwards, move the caliper up and down, left and right, to make sure that it's firmly held in place. Finally, you insert the brake sensor, and you're done with one of 4 wheels. So the other side is pretty much the same. I have timers in the front to show you. You can just skip forward to whichever wheel, and don't have to watch all of this, but if you're interested to see it all, you can. So this is the front passenger caliper. The front calipers and brake pads are larger, of course, because the front wheels kind of take the brunt of the braking. And so on this side, as you can see, I'm not hanging the caliper on a hanger, just over the rotor itself. This is the side where the Bosch set then come with a sensor. Of course, you can purchase the sensors separately. And so I'm using the old one and inserting it into the new pads. Really, the on this E320, the front brake pads are very easy to replace. It's just a little more difficult to do the rear ones, as you'll see in a minute. I use these wood clamps also to pinch fuel hoses. So they work well in any automotive and home applications. Quite handy. You really don't need to grease, at least on the W210, you don't need to grease the back of any of the pads or any part of the caliper. As you can see in the MB workshop instructions, you really don't need to. The Bosch set that I purchased does come with grease, or you can purchase your own. I think there is one other model that you may have to, but not on the W210. And that one is listed in the workshop instructions. pliers would come handy in order to do this. I found the Bosch set also comes with these clips, and I decided to use the original Mercedes-Benz one. It just looked, they look sturdier, even though they're over 20, 21 years old. So this is the, I believe, the rear driver side. So you need some sort of an insertion pin to move this pin that is holding the rear caliper together. So you need something smaller, probably something in the 4 millimeter diameter or something like that. I didn't measure it in order to get that out. And then pry out the two pads. These pads are a lot smaller than the ones in the front. They're pretty gone, so this is the perfect time to replace them. And then I'm inserting the old pin once again in order to press the piston, and I'll show you another method too. With the front calipers, you'll have to use this clamp or a piston press, but with the rear ones, you can also use a larger flathead screwdriver, leveraging it against the rotor itself, and then pressing the piston that way, and you'll see that in a minute right here. Just make sure that the end of the screwdriver is not touching the rubber part. So the backing of each pad goes away from the rotor. The pad itself will be touching the rotor, and then this is probably that's why I say the rear job is a little more difficult. You need something like maybe with the, and you'll notice when I do the passenger rear wheel, you'll see that I'm using a Phillips head screwdriver to gain leverage against that spring in order to insert the pin through 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. So you have to align all of them in order to be able to do that. And you don't have, I have a large hammer. I guess a smaller hammer would have been better, but you don't have a lot of room in the back to hit the pin. So I'm using the pliers to press it. And now this is the rear passenger side. So everything is the same here except using the Phillips head screwdriver to gain leverage against that spring. And if you don't hold on to it, it will fly out, as you saw it fly out from the other side. So as you can see here, this is how I'm gaining leverage to insert the pin. And now with replacing the fluid, so I'm using this. I have this tool that I'll list in the beginning of the video from Harbor Freight in the U.S. You can purchase this to it's to replace your brake fluid if you have a compressor. But here you can use a turkey baster. I'm using this simply just to empty the tank, and then I'm using this bottle. It comes with two bottles. I'm using the larger bottle to collect the old fluid, and I'm using this one to replenish the tank. And it comes with at least 4 different adapters, and one of them fits this car's fuel tank, brake fluid tank perfectly, the opening of it. So now I'm replacing the fluid in the tank first, and then using the correct adapter. It has a little knob there that you turn it left or right to stop the fluid from flowing out, or down in order to let it flow out. And so it will keep the tank replenished, so you don't have to have somebody always looking and refilling, keep filling the tank. You don't want the tank to get empty. So the procedure is straightforward. You just need to coordinate ahead of time with your assistant, and so you, with the valve closed, you will you'll say press, and then your assistant will press the brake, and it will only go a third of the way or so, and then you open the valve. As you open it, because of that pressure on the brake, the fluid will come out. And at the same time, the foot of the assistant or the brake will go lower. And your instructions ahead of time to the assistant will be to press, keep pressing until it floors, until it goes all the way down. And when it does, your helper has to shout back something like bottomed or bottomed out or whatever, so that at that point you close the valve. So as soon as you get that reaction that the foot is all the way down to the floor, you close the valve, and then you tell the assistant to release. And so your assistant will at that point release the foot off the pedal, and the valve is closed. So I'm showing this for just a few seconds on each wheel, but you will have to do that for, as much as it takes. I mean, you saw the full bottle, 1 liter of fluid that you have to divide into 4 parts, maybe larger parts for the rear wheels, but smaller for the fronts, because the fluid has to travel so much farther to the rear tires. But so you want to do this until you're happy with either the color of the fluid or the amount of fluid that has come out of each caliper. And then you tighten the valves, and that's it. So I hope you like this video, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.